So have you been on the fence as to whether or not to buy the Varjo Aero? There's some things in there you don't like? Well, you might be in luck. Pimax just announced a brand new addition to the Reality series of headsets. It's called the Pimax Crystal, and it might be the exact headset you've been waiting for. Stick around, I'll tell you why. So it feels like deja vu all over again. For those of you that don't know, last October Pimax announced their 12K QLED headset, and it sounded amazing. And here we are again with this new Pimax Crystal, and it looks good as well. So just to be clear, there's not a lot of information right now out there, so some of what I'm going to talk about may be a little speculative. It may not all come to fruition down the road, but this is my best attempt at what I can tell about this headset from researching it online right now. So I'll do my best to give you my thoughts, and we'll see how it works out. So there's no doubt that this headset is squarely targeted at the Varjo Aero customers. It uses the same spheric lenses that the Aero does, which gives you that edge-to-edge clarity, which is so amazing. It also has the auto IPD adjustment and the eye tracking, similar to the Aero. But for some of you that might be on the fence and are interested in the Aero, but it doesn't quite tick all the boxes for you, this may be the perfect headset. The biggest complaint I see about the Varjo from my review that I did in the comments section is it's just too expensive, especially if you have to buy the lighthouses for tracking and the controllers. So that's not a problem anymore with the Crystal. It has the controllers, and it's designed to be inside-out tracking, so you don't need any base stations for tracking. It'll do it through the cameras, very similar to the way the Quest does it. So that's a lot cheaper. In addition to that, it has an audio solution built in. So you get sound, you get your microphone. So that was a big plus as well. And in addition to that, it has a lot of modularity built into it. So modularity is probably the biggest word I'd say when it comes to not only the Pimax Crystal, but all of the headsets, including the 12K that are in the new Reality line from Pimax. So they're doing something with this headset that hasn't really been done before, and they're actually even making the lenses modular. So you can actually swap out the lenses in the Pimax Crystal. They have two versions, and one version has about the same PPD or pixel per degree as the Varjo Aero, which is about 35 pixels per degree, and it gives you actually a wider field of view than the Aero. So that's one option. And then if you want that little bit more clarity, you can sacrifice some of that field of view by about 10 degrees and get up to, they claim, a 42 pixel per degree. So technically this would be a higher resolution and higher clarity than the Varjo Aero. Now in practice, I've actually messed with the PPD settings in the Aero. Once you get up that high, I don't know that you really notice that big a difference, but for some of those people that are really focused in on the details, it may make the difference. I think that most people are going to probably notice the larger field of view from the 35 PPD more than they will the higher resolution. So that's just an idea. The other interesting thing is these lenses are actually made of glass. So technically glass is a little clearer than like polycarbonate lenses. But one interesting thing, and I don't know if this is true or not, this is just my thoughts on it, glass is also typically heavier. And because the form factor of this headset looks to be the same as the 12K, I'm almost wondering if they went to glass to keep the balance in the headset right, because the lenses in the 12K are huge. You can see they're just massive and fill up that whole headset, versus the aspheric lenses are quite a bit smaller. So it may be a deal where the glass lenses are actually heavier and give you a better balance. It's totally speculation on my part, but it'd be interesting to see how much the two headsets weigh when they come out, if they weigh very similar or if one is quite a bit lighter. The Crystal, in theory, should be lighter because the lenses are smaller, but we'll see if that glass makes a difference. So that's kind of exciting as well. Now, one of the big things I'm very excited about on the Crystal is the option to use it for room scale. So as those of you that have watched my Varjo Aero review, you know I mentioned I'm not going to use the Aero for room scale. It's only used for my simulator sessions. And the big reason for that is this bad boy right here. This is my Vive Pro from many years ago. this thing and I have gone on many adventures together and been through a lot. But this right here is the wireless adapter. And this is the big reason that I don't want to use the Aero for room scale. Because once you've gone wireless, it's really hard to go back to being tethered to a computer. That freedom you get from not being connected is just amazing. Well, the Crystal is going to allow us to be wireless. They've got two options. Again, the headset is a standalone, much like the Quest 2, but I'm not going to talk a lot about that because you're going to have to go through the Pimax store, and I just don't think they're going to have that many games and things available in there. So if you're looking for a standalone option, I think the Quest 2 is still better just because of the variety of software that you'll be able to get through the Quest store versus the Pimax store. So I'm not really excited about that standalone piece of this. But what I am excited about is the ability to go wireless through your Steam library so you can play all your Steam VR titles wirelessly. And that's going to be amazing. I think that requires a additional wide gig module that'll be added to the headset, so it's an added expense. It doesn't come with it. But to be wireless, again, this thing right here costs more than a Quest 2 kit. So this was like $400 just for the wireless option on this headset. So I'm sure the wide gig module won't be anywhere near that. While we're talking about modularity, the other big thing about modularity is that's kind of what this headset's built around. Very similar to the 12K. So I'm really curious to see if a lot of the modular pieces that they're building for the 12K, like the mouth tracking, maybe the body tracking, will actually work on the Crystal. I would imagine it will, but I don't know that for sure. Now, what will work is the new faceplate. So we mentioned it's inside-out tracking. Well, those of you may know me well enough know that I like lighthouse tracking. I like the accuracy of the lighthouse tracking. And so they're actually going to offer an additional faceplate that I can actually remove the inside-out tracking cameras and put this lighthouse tracking faceplate on. And it's going to give me the option to use my lighthouse tracking with the Pimax Crystal. Again, $200, so you know all the little modules add up. But at the end of the day, I think you're going to be right in line with the price that the Varjo Aero would have cost you if you had to buy all the lighthouses and things that way. So I think on a price-wise, you're probably even going to get a little bit better value out of the Pimax Crystal than you will out of the Varjo Aero. Now, the big place where you're going to see a difference between the Crystal and the Aero is there's a couple things. So those lenses we talked about are going to be paired with QLED screens. And we haven't seen a headset with QLED screens yet, but I personally think this may be the perfect balance. I'm an OLED snob. I've mentioned that several times, and I don't apologize for that at all. But I think since they don't really do a lot of OLED anymore, this QLED option might be a good one because it's going to give you some of the advantages of the LCD screens and the brightness from that. But with the mini LED behind it, you're going to be able to get those dark blacks that you typically see in an OLED screen. So I'm really excited to see what that combination of a QLED screen with a good lens will do. I think you might end up with a little bit of bloom. I know we had that problem when they first went to the arrays behind like the TV sets, like the LCD TV sets. There was a little bit of a glow behind any objects, but that hopefully won't be that bad, and I'm willing to make that trade-off if I can get those dark blacks in the really dark scenes. So I'm very excited to see what that comes out and looks like when it's all said and done. So in addition to the wireless, there's another thing that really makes the Crystal attractive, at least to me, for room scale. And that's the way they've designed the battery. So they have the battery, and it looks like it's exactly the same as they announced on the 12K. It's a battery pack that actually goes in the back of the headset. It's got a little compartment, and it slides in. Now, what's kind of cool about this is they also claim it's hot swappable. So that means if you're in a session in room scale and the battery gets low, theoretically, if you're quick enough, you should be able to pop that battery out and pop a charged battery in and not lose your place in your game or have to reset anything. So if that's the case, that's going to be really cool. Now, as you guys know, I wear glasses, so one of the other things that they've mentioned that I can't really find a lot of information about is supposedly it's going to have a diopter adjustment in the lenses that's going to allow you to correct, so you would technically not have to wear your glasses. You would adjust the lenses to your proper visual correction from your optometrist, and then you'd be able to use it just without glasses and have a good view. Now, what I can't figure out on that is if it's actually adjustable with the lens where you actually move a lever or something and it changes it, or if it's going to be more like a prescription lens type thing where you just buy these lenses that are set to your correction and you put them in. If that's the case, I'm not nearly as interested. But if it's something that you can adjust, I think that'll be incredible, because then you can dial it in, and then if somebody who doesn't have bad eyesight wants to use it, you just put it back to normal. So it's going to be real interesting to see what we find out more about that thing. So fingers crossed that it's adjustable. So all that being said, I still come down to what I said last October when I did my thoughts on the 12K QLED, and I'll post that up here. If anybody's interested, you can see it up here. But they still need to get one of these units into the hands of reviewers. So this looks great on paper, but the problem with that is the Vive Pro 2 looked great on paper, and as soon as I slapped that thing on, it wasn't for me. So until we can get some reviewers to actually get their heads in these headsets, either in the Crystal or the 12K, I'm not going to get overly excited, because all the great specs in the world on paper might not pan out if there's something wrong either with the lenses or the way this all comes together. So the good news on that is the Crystal is scheduled to be released in Q3, which will be, anywhere from July to September. I'm guessing it's going to lean more towards September, if not slipping a little past that. But that means they should be getting units out to reviewers, I would say, in the next several months. So hopefully we're going to see some people actually get to try these out and give us an honest review of what they're seeing and what they're experiencing. So again, I'm very excited about the QLED and to see how that interacts with the lenses. And I'm even more excited now that it's an aspheric lens that they'll be trying it on. So let's get it out there. Now, unfortunately, I in no way can afford another $2,000 headset at this point, having just purchased the Aero. We're several months away, depending on what happens. If we get enough support through Patreon, also, if I can get enough of you guys, if you do any shopping on Amazon, if you go to Amazon through one of our affiliate links, you can buy whatever you want. You don't have to buy what the link is, but anything you buy through that link, we'll get a small percentage back. So who knows? 3 or 4 months from now, we may have enough funding that I can actually get one of these as soon as they're released. And if that's the case, I would definitely do that and get my head in there so I can give you my honest thoughts on it as well. So that's kind of where we stand right now. It's an exciting time, but it's hard because, again, for those of you that aren't familiar with Pimax, they do have a history of overpromising and under-delivering and of being a little slow. So I'm still hoping they've got all that worked out. I'm still hoping they're on schedule. We'll find out fairly soon. And, as soon as we find out more about this Crystal, again, it might be the perfect headset for those of you that have been on the fence with the Aero. It might cover all those problems that the Aero provides, and I'm excited to see what it does. Again, if it works for room scale, I'll be happy as a clam. And if it's that good, then I can always bring it to the simulator and plug in with one of the, with the cable, with the DisplayPort cable, and use it there. So it's an exciting time. I'm excited to see what happens. And until next time, remember to get your game on.